Fragments and silicon, guaranteed to help you wake up in the morning. Just shove them under your fingernails.
All right, welcome to the first installment of the Fragments of Silicon Daylight interviews for the new year. I want to welcome our guests this week. Introduce yourselves, fellas.
Okay, I can start. I'm Kristan Johanssan of, I guess we're called Mechanical Moose, our studio. And I'm one of two people behind the game Boss Lords that we're probably going to see and talk about today. And the main guy behind the game is Fredrik, so I'll hand over to you, Fredrik, and let you introduce yourself.
I'm Fredrik, the second guy of Mechanical Moose. I'll do everything except sound and music and some writing, which Kristan is doing.
All right. And I guess how we like to get started here is by asking this particular question. What got you interested in video games, both on a personal and a professional level?
Should I start, maybe?
Yeah.
I think just being able, to interact with what you're seeing on screen, like being able to control a character and, creating your own choices instead of the linear media, which is movies and things like that. Being able to affect what you're seeing on screen, basically, is what is interesting me in video games.
Yeah, for me, I guess I'm quite old, so I'll have to go way back, but I think it's diving into worlds and just exploring worlds and being part of the world. And it has expanded over the years because I've also been working in games media and been interested in the actual industry. And also, of course, expanding on that, like creating games and creating illusions for people to fall into, much like I did when I was a kid. So.
All right. And I suppose, when did this all translate to, professionally making games?
When we started out, you mean? Let's see.
How long ago was that?
Yeah, okay.
I graduated back in 2014. That's where I got my first job as a character artist. That's also where I met Kristan for the first time. But before that, it was like, editing other video games, like in map creators and
right.
Yeah, just trying out stuff.
Yeah, let's see, when did I graduate? Like 12 years ago. I studied game development with a focus on sound design. And I got into various indie games. I like working on indie games, doing sound design, most of it, and some music as well. And we are both employed full-time at other studios right now. So this game, Boss Lords, is like a side project for us in our spare time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you both decide to come together to make this Boss Lords game? Like, how long has this concept been in development?
For way too long, right?
Yeah. I think it started like back in, could it be late 2000, shit, what could it be?
I
18 or 19?
I think I jumped on around February, January 2019, so it's almost 4 years ago for me.
Yeah, and I think I developed it maybe 4 months before you jumping in, like very on a very small scale. I think I talked about the game during one of the lunch, and I think you became interested. Asked me if I wanted sound and music, which I definitely needed help with.
Mm.
Okay. And I suppose before we go further on into the background developments of things, we should probably talk about what Boss Lords actually is, because it's a mixture of roguelite and real-time strategy battle.
Like I said, it's a 2D pixel strategy roguelite. But instead of having one character that you grow up and level up and equip, the focus instead of the horde or the army that you're leading. So when you get new stuff or grow stronger, you equip your army instead, like all your fighters and monsters. And with the roguelite aspect, it's focused on replayability. So each time you play, you'll level up and discover new stuff.
I mean the game has evolved over the years. I should say I think it started out more like a tower defense game, right?
Yeah. And that's what I found fun with this game, even though it's taken a while. It's like seeing organically take form, like, people testing out the game and asking, well, it's like, why didn't you put this, or have you tried doing it this way?
Yeah.
And just being open to feedback and not having like a super paved way, and more like discovering what the game could be has been quite interesting.
Yeah, and I think I mean you are the main person behind. I mean this is your idea, but I've been coming up with ideas for the game that you have implemented some of the time where we've discussed it and it has turned into compromises and so on. Because we have some kind of story in it. We have some events that you encounter, like small story segments, and you make like a simple choice, and it often leads to a fight of some kind or treasure. And the game takes like, what is it, 40 minutes to run through, like one run. And you gain some kind of currency to unlock new abilities for your leader, your boss lord, to give you a slight edge for the next run.
Okay. And let's see. I suppose my next question is, where did this idea first gestate from?
I've always had like different side projects, and it could be. I like to throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks. But just for Boss Lords, I played. I wanted to throw myself back into time. I played games like Heroes of Might and Magic and Dungeon Keeper, and I was like, oh shit, this would be fun to create. Being like in Dungeon Keeper, where you have the perspective of being the evil ones. So I wanted to create a game where you are the villains that you usually see in video games, but with a twist. And it started before it was a tower defense game. It was a dungeon creator game, but once I started to play test my own game, I found it wasn't that fun. And then I think I took a pause and played some Faster and Light, and found that aspect of having a limited play session where you have your fixed goal, but the path to that goal is very differs from each play session. So I added a bit of that into the mix, and it was actually quite fun to play test. So I just started working from there. So yeah, old school games was the main inspiration, I'd say.
I can see it. Like, granted, this is, if nothing else, quite the unique combination of elements. Like, I can't think offhand of another, roguelike real-time battle thing out there.
Yeah, we have been looking as well. We haven't really found. I mean, there are games that are kind of similar, and but yeah, it's mostly like, yeah, this is an RTS, but it's not really roguelite. It doesn't have that aspect and so on. But so yeah, I guess the challenge has been sometimes to actually be able to do like an elevator pitch for the game. Like, how do you explain this in a good way? So I mean, the best thing we have right now is like roguelite plus RTS, and then throw in some actual games that inspired it, because that's usually what people resonate with. Oh, it's like the Dark Souls of this and that and so on.
Hey, do you want to pop the footage up if you don't have it already?
Sorry about that. I almost forgot. I thought I hit the button. I'm bad.
Like, right then. Are you concerned about that in terms of like marketing the game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it, Frederick?
Yeah, like not being able to exactly pinpoint what it is that people can relate to is a challenge. But that's also like a backside of creating something that doesn't really exist.
I think this game is driven mostly by us wanting to create it, and less about us wanting to become rich. I mean, of course, we want to make money off of this game somehow, but creating the game has always come firsthand, and trying to explain it and like sell it to people has come in later in the development. But I feel like if people get to try it and we pitch it as the way we've been pitching it recently, I think it will work.
Okay. I suppose approaching it from a different angle is, have you had problems communicating what this game is to people? Or do they get it?
I mean, we did have playtests, and how did those turn out, Fredrik? Did people have issues with trying to understand what?
I think once they, played the tutorial and played a couple of minutes, they got into the game. But just having, trying to condense everything into a small format, because there's so many aspects like battles, random events where you get to do choices, and the world map. It's hard to cook down into like we used to say, like elevator pitch. But that's also the type of games that I like to play like faster than light. It hasn't been any games like it before. I'm trying to think like how did they market themselves?
Yeah, exactly. Like what did they do? Because they
Mm-hmm.
succeeded. So.
And also like Vampire Survivors. Like the first thing you see about the game is not like didn't interest me, but as soon as I played it myself, I was super hooked. I couldn't stop playing it.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases you're just lucky and people discover you, and I mean, I guess you can't rely on that in every case, but I still feel like we can condense it enough because we've gone through so many iterations of like how do we describe this game, like the Steam page, we've been updating it several times just to boil it down to something people can understand, and also posting on Twitter, like trying to shorten the message more and more until it's like, yeah, you're the so-called bad guy with an army, and you attack the Empress, and it's a roguelite, and there are some RTS battles, and tons of items and equipment and so on. Yeah, we'll see how it turns out, but I'm rather hopeful. I mean, we haven't really talked to a publisher about it. We've been getting some offers, but we haven't really considered anything seriously so far. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'd like to get a proper polished playable demo out, and then hopefully being able to pick what we prefer instead of getting the first publisher that pops up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I suppose a good question to ask at this point is, what is the state of completion of the game currently?
Right now, there's a lot of. I just finished the last random encounter. So what's left is, being balancing on the different boss lords and making sure that the progression is well balanced and things like that. And also see from the footage now that there's some UI fixes that needs to be done.
Some of that might be because I'm using an ultra-wide monitor, so the resolution might be a little messed up.
I think it looks fine, right? Or
with some of the text stuff. You know, some games, if there's too much text, they get a little freaked out on ultra-wides.
Okay.
Oh yeah, maybe. But yeah, right now it works. But yeah, doing some more testing and fixing all those last bugs.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, if we consider that this is supposed to be an early access game, I think it's in a very good state compared to most early access games. We have most of the music is basically done. All the sound effects are there. All the voices are there. We have all the events are written, and yeah, I mean, everything is planned out. So it's just a few details that needs to be fixed. But I mean, when you make a game, it feels like the last percent are the ones that takes the longest to get done.
Like
so
90% done, 90% left.
Yeah,
I have
something
heard
like
this
that.
before.
Yeah.
And how long have you been playtesting the game?
We did a big playtest maybe a year ago. Where I got a lot of feedback. So, otherwise, it's just friends that has access to the game right now that plays it once in a while, and Yeah,
Yeah,
right now their feedback is mostly about difficulty, having a good balance, so they don't die immediately and things like that.
I mean, I've been doing lots of playtesting as well, and there was a time when the game was way too easy in my opinion, and then it got very hard. And I think you said something like, "Yeah, this it's not supposed to be this hard. This is like a bug or something." And I was like, "No, this is how hard it should be," because I think it's way more fun when it's like a tough challenge. The game really blooms in those kind of cases. Like it becomes way more entertaining, in my opinion, at least. But I'm not sure if I mean, have we talked about having another playtest before we actually release it in early access?
Yeah, I think like reaching out to the players that play it on like semi-regular basis, to have them play and do all the stuff that they don't usually do, to iron out any like soft lock bugs and things like that. So not as big as the previous one, but at least reaching out to those players that enjoys the game.
Yeah.
Like, how many players have been in the previous play sessions?
Did we have 70 people or something? Or was it? So I think that was good, getting a lot of different players, even players that don't usually play these types of games.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the point of releasing it in early access, because in a way that will help us shape the game when we have a lot more people just giving it a go, and coming with ideas for how the game could be evolved. But because at some point I feel like we just need to release it and let people try it and see how it evolves from there. Because it's I think it's easy to get stuck in a game like this, just working on it year after year, and being like stuck in a bubble and maybe working on it in the wrong direction, and it's just better to let people play it, because I feel like the game is in a pretty good state with features and like the flow of the gameplay and so on.
Yeah, like you said, Kristan, like we can add content for the rest of our lives, but maybe it doesn't need any more content, or
Well, I mean, it sounds like from what you've indicated, what the game needs most is tweaking.
Yeah.
Not necessarily something more foundational, like content building.
Yeah, exactly. Like making sure people have good runs each time they play, so they're not like the first event that they encounter is steamrolling them immediately.
Which can happen. Like, I mean, I did encounter that in my play session the other day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like if it's the first time booting up the game, you don't want to get steamrolled immediately. So yes, that's something that we're considering.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I suppose shifting the focus a bit, what exactly is a boss lord?
Fun thing about the name of the game is it was naming anything is so hard, especially a video game. So it was actually first this save file. I just threw something together and like boss lord. That's perfect. I think it was evil lord maybe, and then I changed it to boss lord. I think we discussed that, Christian, right?
Well, I remember one discussion when we went from boss lord to boss lords.
Oh yeah.
And also I remember asking you one time, like, we have like female boss lords, so should they be called boss ladies? Because lords and ladies. But then we googled it or something, and we discovered that ladies can be lords as well. Like technically they can be called lords, so I guess boss lords work. So we just stuck with it.
Makes sense. Also differentiates it from Overlord. I'm not sure if you guys remember that.
It was a great game.
But anyway, who are this? Because as far as I could see, as far as like the game is concerned, like the boss lord is kind of your hero or champion unit. If we're talking about classic RTS games.
Yeah, I think initially the boss lord was supposed to fight amongst the other minions, but then, as you see, he's right now dancing on the side there. But it was weird with that boss lord dying all the time. So that, we tried positioning him at the sideline instead, where you could just support his minions.
And
because
sorry, go on.
Yeah, because he doesn't do any active fighting. It was hard to should he have his own equipment, and it was already so many different items and spells and things like that. So instead, we created like his boss items affects the whole horde instead.
Yeah, I think the one of the earlier versions we had, the boss lord was way more. I mean, the game was way more passive in a way. Like you were mostly watching and occasionally using an ability or a magic spell. And I think we've leaned way more into giving the player more stuff to do, essentially, during combat. You have more magic, and they recharge faster, so you can affect the outcome a bit more. Because previously the game was more focused on placing your minions and positioning them based on what kind of strengths you would like them to use in different formations and so on. And it evolved a bit to I guess more action oriented.
Oh shit. Sorry, I was watching the footage. It was more of an auto battler, and I think those games are really fun, but it didn't fit boss lords, so like Kristan said, we wanted to make the player more active.
And that's also like one of the key differences between a tower defense game and a real-time strategy game, I think. Because it's kind of the name. You mentioned that this game had origins in the tower defense game, and I think that still shows in like the sideline tower guys. But it's also, you have active troops that move, and that's a big shift in terms of strategy, tactics. Like, though, getting back to the original question, like, who are the boss lords? Like what are the specific units? And what are their specialties? Like, for example, like the character you can play as right now in the closed beta, I suppose, is like a high up goblin guy.
Yeah.
The inspiration is having, the classic villains. Like this guy is, the captain of the goblins. His focus is, having a horde of just smaller, cheaper units like goblins. So when you level up, you'll be able to create. You'll make the goblins stronger. So a level 60 a goblin captain will have very powerful goblins. But then we have another boss lord, which is a necromancer, and she gets 3 skeletons that she can, by using morale. By spending morale, she can create permanent minions that, even if they die, they'll pop up in the next scenario. So she's more focused in, resurrecting and having morale as a resource, which this guy is not his. That's just his.
I think we should mention that the morale is the health of the horde, basically. So if you're down to 0, it's game over. You're dead, basically. And the other difference between the boss lords is, I mean, they have unique backstories, of course, and a story that they follow through the game, but they also have different abilities that are supposed to like make you play in a different way and think about the game in a different way depending on who you're playing as. It's the intention, at least, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like there is a dragon trainer where you have a dragon that you can feed with minions. So you'll lose the amount of minions that you have, but the dragon, that minion, will become super strong. So she's more having like one strong unit instead of having a whole army. And there's another boss lord which can only have half the amount of the minions the other ones can have, but they are all like have the double amount of HP and double the strength.
Yeah, and also the minions get different stat boosts depending on which formation you put them in. If you put them in the front line or the back line and so on. So you'll have to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of hidden depth to this game.
Yeah, there is a lot of secrets, even some that pops up, like this one, it's like 10% that it occurs. And I think that's quite fun to discover as well. Like maybe you've seen an event a couple of times after you played some hours, but just having that small percentage of something unexpected happening could be a fun surprise, I think.
Yeah, like trying to add more replayability, I guess, to the game to make people want to play it again and again, even with the same character. And it's a bit of a challenge as well, trying to add story to the game as well, because it's a roguelite. So you would have to go the Hades way if you want to do it properly, I guess, and just write a ton of stuff. And we don't really have that time and energy and expertise, but it's also a balance between writing something that's interesting to read, but you also know that people will probably skip the text after a while because they've already seen the event. So it's like a balance between like how much time do we want to put into writing something elaborate and like a long quest line, or is that just annoying eventually? So it's been a bit tricky to figure out.
I suppose that's all part of the literal balancing act.
Mm.
Now, you've called this a roguelite, and okay, let's go back to this. So for those who might have missed this, but we do encounter a lot of rogue-esque games on the indie circuit. And roguelite is the light version of rogue.
Yeah.
So that usually implies permanent upgrades.
Yep.
I found. So my question here is, like, what are you unlocking here in terms of like upgrades?
Yeah, like Kristan mentioned previously, with you get the currency each time you finish or fail a run. Like maybe you can see here. That's
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have the like an ability skill tree thing on the right side where you earn boss coins by beating mini bosses or the regular bosses at the end, and you earn boss coins, and you can upgrade your boss lord with different abilities. It's not like a the upgrades aren't huge, but they will give you a slight edge, and you can also unlock more boss lords, of course, and different setups basically for a boss lord. So like a different way of doing formations. So the I think the biggest carryover between runs is the ability, though, like the ability to unlock, and we are still trying to figure those out. I think for most of the boss lords, like where do you, how much of an impact should they have? Because we don't want it to make like, yeah, you unlock this and now you can suddenly beat the game every time. So there needs to be some kind of balance there.
Yeah. And also having different difficulties. Maybe you have to have a lot of upgrades to be able to finish the game on hard or true difficulty later on.
Yes, I suppose that makes sense. Now, has it been a difficult job balancing the game?
Yeah, it's hard, especially since sometimes when I do a lot of playtests, I know I've been playing it so many times that it's, even though I make it even harder or making it easier, I always know the meta of the game, so to speak. And also with the different random encounters, I can't really control which will pop up.
Yeah. And there are so many items and like the more encompassing like boss lord items that affect the game in more drastic ways, and you can combine them. And yeah, I mean there are a lot of things that can happen, but I feel like that's also the charm with these kinds of games, that you sometimes discover, or you get lucky and you run into some kind of combination that is just, wow, this will get me through to the end. Like I found the secret sauce somehow, and and the next time you play, like, oh wait, how do I get that same thing again? And you just need to get lucky, basically. But
yeah, like you said, if you have a couple of
so sorry, go on.
Oh no, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, but I mean, it will be an eternal task trying to balance this. But I feel like as long as it's not too easy, it's kind of fine, because as I said before, I would rather have it to be a bit harder than a bit easier. So when you actually succeed, you feel like you accomplished something. And if you don't succeed, you can just unlock more abilities to maybe succeed the next time, or try a different boss lord, or try different combinations of magic spells and so on.
Once again, that does make sense, especially since you got rogue in the title, and one of the like quintessential elements of that rule set at this point is difficulty. Like roguelikes and roguelites and so on and so forth are not known for being easy.
Yeah.
They're known for being, almost brutally difficult. Yeah, even in the beginning. Going all the way back to the original Rogue, really.
Yeah.
One design that I think we both like the idea of is, having an item or minion that always carries over to the next run. So even if you lose, you might keep one of your items that you gained. So it doesn't feel too hopeless.
Yeah, I've suggested some events actually that were too brutal. I think even for you, Fredrik, where you make the wrong choice and you just die. It just ends.
Oh, yeah.
it would have been like a funny thing. Like you have to select the wrong choice twice, but you still lose everything and you just have to start over. But we did put it into the game, I think at least.
No, not yet, at least.
And we also, by the way, have like some events are a bit longer. They are more like quests, like we see here. Like you, for example, carry an item with you to the next map or the next realm, and while you're carrying the item, you get a stat penalty of some kind, I think. But once you hand it over to the right person, you get a big some kind of treasure or a big bonus.
Yeah, like you said, the events that are designed to be harder gives you bigger rewards as well.
Yeah.
Which, once again, makes sense, given, higher the risk, higher the reward kind of deal. Like, anyway, I do want to shift things to something I've been wondering. That's multiplayer. Like, do you have any plans to have either co-op or PvP in this game?
Interesting thought. I haven't thought about that actually, but I think that would require a lot of work for this title with how it's designed. But I think I got caught off guard. It's also like, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like this must have come up at some point during these 4 years, like some idea about why don't we do it multiplayer? But I mean, it's as you said, we don't. We don't really have the resources right now to do it. Maybe we could do it in the future if this game is successful and we feel like we could maybe do like a multiplayer expansion or a side project or something. Because we have the base game, we have the assets we could use. So I mean, it's not impossible, but right now it doesn't. That's not really our focus.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Just this does seem like the kind of game that, at least on the surface, be amiable towards some sort of multiplayer. But I know, like under the hood, those kinds of things can actually be very difficult. Especially if you didn't build for it from the ground up.
And also, if we want to do multiplayer, I think people will also ask for online support, like being able to play online, and that adds a whole. That's a whole kind of worms you're opening.
I think with a game like Boss Lords here, with a real-time strategy element, I don't think you could get away with not having online multiplayer of some kind. Considering that's been a staple of the genre since the mid '90s.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
It's like, but anyway, so one aspect we haven't really talked about up to this point is the music. How are you going about adding the music here? Is it something that's composed? Is it something that you get online? That kind of
Oh,
deal?
it's all composed by me, and it was quite ambitious in the beginning in terms of variety and the amount of songs, and I had to suffer through that, but it turned out okay. So basically, you have different theme and set of songs for every realm in the game. Like different tavern songs, different shop songs, different combat songs and map songs and everything.
That's definitely more than I was expecting. Like, do you know how many tracks that you have created for this game?
Yeah, I think it's about 70 plus or something. But I mean they are pretty short and loopable, so they are like around 1 or 1.5 minutes each. But it's still, I mean, that's the point, right? With roguelites, you want to add a lot of content and variety,
Right.
so people don't get tired of playing or listening in this case to the game. So that was kind of the goal, to just shove as much music as possible into the game, and make the realms more distinct as well, like giving them a different feel. And also, I mean, sorry, go on.
Well, like, does like each realm have like 6 tracks? Like how's the music split up here?
I think each realm have 2 or 3 different battle themes, like that are only heard in that particular realm. And I mean, nothing is recycled for other realms, so you only hear those songs in that particular realm. Also, when you enter a shop and when you enter events, you have like suspenseful or a more cheery version of the same event music for that particular realm as well. So you have variation.
Also, you made like a night version. It kind of sounds like a bedtime version of each realm as well. When you go into camp, which is a fun detail, I think.
Yeah, so there is like a transition into a nighttime version of the same map song if you click the Make Camp button on the world map. So maybe that's a bit overkill, but and we also foolishly maybe started to add voices to all the minions and the boss lords, and it just escalated, and it turned into a huge undertaking because I'm doing like 85% of the voices, and there's a lot of files, and also the engine, I feel, isn't really made for this kind of audio implementation and amount of audio, and you don't really have a lot of tools to handle it well, because I'm used to working with Wise and sound implementation software like that. So this is what is this called again? Shockwave Fusion?
Click Team Fusion.
Click Team, sorry. Click Team.
But yeah, like for me, because it's a visual coding software, and with my background as an artist, it has been worth it for the project, because then I didn't need to learn some heavy coding. I could just focus on throwing new stuff into the game and trying out ideas. So it's been some perks and some what's it called,
pros and cons, I guess.
Pros and cons.
But I would say it's been like sometimes torture on the audio side, but it's a good kind of torture because you get hardened and you learn stuff and you learn to just fight through it, I guess.
And let me see here. So, have you figured out any sort of pricing range on Boss Lords yet?
I think just thinking about that always gives me anxiety because it's like a science in itself. Just having that perfectly priced product. But I think it definitely won't be in the mid to high range. I guess maybe, what can I say? Maybe $11 to $15. That sounds about right, Kristan.
Yeah, I think we discussed that, like between 10 to 15, probably leaning a bit higher. Well, we haven't made a firm decision, but I think we'll end up somewhere around there.
Fair enough. And is this game being built for Windows, or will there be versions for Mac and Linux as well?
Right now it's only Windows, but if publisher or someone wants to help out with creating a port of sorts, then we'd definitely be interested.
Yeah, and it does work on Steam Deck though, because I've tried it myself. It's you can use the touchscreen, I guess, and just point at stuff.
That's quite cool.
And does that philosophy extend to bringing this to like either consoles or mobile or anything of that nature?
I did try it on my laptop, which has a touchscreen, and it worked. But I think it might need some scaling up to do. But I think for console,
that's. I think that. I mean, I would love to have this on a console, to be honest. But I think the issue comes with the controls. Yeah, like you need to figure out a good way of moving around the cursor, basically, in a smooth way, and that's gonna take work, I think.
It's always been the principal hindrance of RTS games on console, unless you just flat out go with the mouse and keyboard option.
Yeah,
which is definitely more viable now than it was back in the day.
Yeah, and I mean, you have some games nowadays where you are basically moving a cursor with the analog stick, and I'm not sure I would like it in this game, but it seems like it's been somewhat accepted by people that you're supposed to move a ring and point at stuff in menus.
Yeah, I mean that's probably what you're going to do because it's the whole default devices conundrum.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Right then. So I think I've run through my gamut of questions, so I will see if my colleagues here have anything further to add to the mix.
I think I'm set.
I think I'm good.
All right. So yeah, I want to thank both of you for taking time out of your schedule and being with us here today. It was a lovely conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was really fun.
No problem. No problem. The game looks intriguing and played well from what I was able to garner, and I'm looking forward to see how it shapes up in early access properly. Anyway, the game is Boss Lords. It is not currently available in early access. And I'm not sure when the next time an a beta playtest might be coming, but you can at the very least wishlist this on Steam, and in order to keep updated on those affairs. And is there anywhere else that people can go to receive updates of the game?
Yeah, I think the best way would be to follow us on Twitter at Bosslords Game, because we post all the latest news there.
Okay. So if if Twitter's still a thing, be sure to do that. And yeah, I think that'll about do it for this episode, Fragments of Silicon. So be sure to tune in next time when we do our Sunday reviews. And until then, I shall wish you good gaming.